Greetings. I'm Pastor Blaine with another It's Almost Sunday devotional. Now, this week we're going to be dipping into the prophet Micah to consider how we might respond when it seems like things are falling down all around us. Our gospel lesson is going to be from Matthew chapter 9, verses 9 to 13. Let's take a listen to that. As Jesus went on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax collector's booth. "Follow me," he told him, and Matthew got up and followed him. While Jesus was having dinner at Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners came and ate with him and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they asked his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" On hearing this, Jesus said, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. But go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. For I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Now let me note here, verse 13, the last verse, "But go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice. For I have not come to call the righteous, but sinners." That verse in particular is what ties in with our sermon text and the message from Micah. But the context is always a good thing, and so I started back at verse 9 to give a little more context to that. Now, doing so, a couple things caught my eye. First of all, Matthew. Who was Matthew, besides a disciple called by Jesus? Well, first of all, he was a tax collector. And if you couldn't guess, they were not particularly popular people. Matthew would not have been a popular guy. In Israel, tax collectors were despised. Often they were Jews who were collecting taxes from other Jews for the Romans. And quite often, they weren't completely honest or fair about their trade. They had a lot of power to charge what they could or what they wanted, a little extra, if you get what I'm saying. They could basically get what they wanted or whatever they could get above and beyond the tax that was required from Rome. They could keep, and some of them did so and got quite rich. Not all, but enough. Tax collectors were really, really looked down on. It was an understatement to say that. Yet Jesus chose Matthew, this guy who would have been absolutely despised. He was not deterred by reputations or popular opinion. Jesus saw other things, like, say, potential and maybe what was inside a person's heart. Choosing Matthew should say to anyone who feels unworthy or less than, forget it. Don't worry about it. Jesus can, will, and does use whoever he wants to use. He can use you. Are you willing? Are you willing, and will you follow if you're called like Matthew did? A second thing that I note, if we look at verse 12, well, first of all, let's go back and refresh. Let's read 10 and 11 again. "While Jesus was having dinner at Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners came and ate with him and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they asked his disciples, 'Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?'" If we look at that there, now what Jesus' response? On hearing this, Jesus said, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick." Some people think that they aren't good enough, that Jesus or the God couldn't or wouldn't use them. We just hopefully dispelled that idea when we considered Jesus calling Matthew, this one here who was so despised, of a class there that was considered low, really, really low. Now, some similarly think that they are not good enough or worthy enough, that they're maybe too broken, needy, or sinful, that God wouldn't stoop to help them, wouldn't even help them out, let alone use them, but he wouldn't even help them. Wrong. Jesus came for the lost. He came for the broken, the sick, the needy, all of them. Sadly, sometimes we see in the text here, it is spiritual people, church people, if you will, who don't seem to get that and who turn people away. But Jesus doesn't. Jesus doesn't turn the sick, the hurting, the needy away. Jesus calls, and even when necessary, Jesus seeks out. He goes after people. In our prayers, let the Spirit search your heart, your mind, your spirit. Is there anything that you think disqualifies you, that separates you absolutely from Jesus' mercy and grace, from his compassion, from his call? If there is such a thing inside you, someplace dark, someplace sinful, someplace that you are feeling guilty or ashamed of, offer it up. Ask Jesus to be healed, to be made whole, to be restored, and trust that Jesus is willing to do just that, because he has come for you. He's come for everyone, but he has come for you. Today I'd like to close with a prayer we've used before, but it seems to fit pretty well today. This is from their United Methodist hymnal, number 466, An Invitation to Christ. Come, my light, and illumine my darkness. Come, my life, and revive me from death. Come, my physician, and heal my wounds. Come, flame of divine love, and burn up the thorns of my sins, kindling my heart with the flame of thy love. Come, my King, sit upon the throne of my heart, and reign there, for thou alone art my King and my Lord. Amen. Amen, and God's grace, mercy, and peace be with you.